The coverage of these modules focuses on clientele and audiences in counseling. Individuals and groups of people who receive service from various counseling professions constitute the clientele and audience. These individuals and groups vary in their needs and contexts where they avail of counseling services. Before we proceed, let's talk about the characteristics of clientele and audiences of counseling. The clientele and audiences of counseling are normal people. They are not in need of clinical or mental help. They may be the youth in need of guidance at critical moments of their growth, anyone in need of assistance in realizing a change in a behavior or attitude, or individuals simply seeking to achieve a goal. So now, we already know the characteristics of clientele and audiences in counseling. So let's proceed to essential learning. Essential learning means the coverage of these modules. You heard it right. Counseling is provided to individuals, groups or organizations, and communities. In the school setting, counseling is provided to students who find it difficult to adjust to their academic requirements and to those who may be affected by personal difficulties. That's right. In the industry setting, counseling is provided to employees who may have difficulties in the work setting. It is usually provided by the Human Resource Department or the HRD. The group clientele of counseling consists of individuals or people who share similar concerns such as students with academic difficulties, honor students, students with uncertainties, children of OFW parents or single parents, international students, students living in dormitories or away from home, students with social-emotional concerns, victims of disasters, and peer facilitators. In the community setting, counseling is provided to parents and school authorities such as the teachers. Counselors work in partnership with them to strengthen the programs and services provided to its clientele. Before we go deep into the topic, let's try this activity first. The following answers in these activities are based on personal experiences.
Before anything else, let's answer this activity first, shall we?
Dare to face the problem. What is the most difficult situation you have recently encountered?
My world almost shattered when I encountered this situation, but with God's grace, I am thankful that it did not happen. Recently, my father and mother almost broke up due to third party.
What are your thoughts about it?
The word painful cannot describe the feelings that I felt during those trying moments.
How do you cope with it?
I was holding in my faith and believed that God already planned this. I kept on praying and praying and praying that we'll be whole once more, and the tears that are falling from our eyes will be wiped and change it instead with smiles in our faces.
What changes do you want to see happen?
Of course, the first one is to see those kilig moments in their eyes again, and most of all, the love and compassion for our family.
What can you do to improve the situation? Come up with 3 possible actions.
My action plan A is I'll try my very best to let them understand that they both have children who will suffer if they continued separating. The amount of trauma and psychologically effects in the mental health of the children will surely leave a scar in their mind, and they will bring it to their graveyard. My action plan B is I'll let them reminisce all the good and hardship that they went through, letting them realize that not all relationships are perfect, but of course, committing a sin must not normalize. My action plan C is if the relationship is really toxic already, I won't meddle in it. It is for the sake of both the parents and their children.
Consider the consequences of each action plan, both the positive and negative.
The positive side of my plan action A is that first and foremost, the mental health of their children will not be at risk and they will live in a healthy environment. Meanwhile, the negative effect of my plan action A is that sometimes our parents doesn't know how to listen to the voices of their children. So the barrier of this plan is that they might reject our opinions because they think we are too young to understand the situation. The positive outcome of Plan B is that it will help them rebuild the trust that was once broken, letting them to look into the brighter side and doesn't just focus in the wrongdoings of one person in the relationship. Because we must remember, relationship consists of people and not just one person. They should work together, otherwise it couldn't be so-called as relationship. Meanwhile, the negative effect of this plan is that even though they already solved the problem, there will always be a doubt in the relationship because the damage has already been done. The positive outcome of Plan C is that they will no longer hurt themselves. The pain their children are suffering from will not get worsened than what they are currently experiencing. Meanwhile, the negative effect of this plan is that the children will no longer experience a one happy family and the pain will be a biggest highlight on their lives.
Decide the best action plan for this situation.
The action plan A is the best plan to use in this kind of situation, especially if there's an involvement of children. They shouldn't be selfish. They shouldn't just think for themselves. They should think for the betterment of their relationship and the family that they build as well.
Write how you intended to implement your chosen action plan.
The great way to implement my chosen action plan is through a calm talk. A quote once said, "A wild person with calm mind can make everything." If we talk about our problems or misunderstanding with calmness, we can solve it right away because our mind can think properly and can decide things equitable. So that was the coverage of Activity 1. See ya guys on my next video.
What is the importance of going through the problem-solving process? Problem-solving enables us to identify and exploit opportunity in the environment and exert control over the future. Problem-solving skills and the problem-solving process are the critical part of daily life, both as individuals and organizations. Also, understanding your process is the most important part of systematic problem-solving. Based on the challenge that you have identified in the activity, how will you apply the steps and activity sheets? Firstly, I'll talk to them separately and let them realize that they both have children who will suffer if they pursue separating. Secondly, if the surroundings cool down, that's the time we'll let them talk to one another and we'll sit beside them so that they will include us whatever their decision will be.
Counseling is very important. The first counseling is provided to individual. Counseling is implemented for students at the elementary school level to guide them to practice proper behavior, where guidance counselors help or address how they guide students to do good behaviors. The government should better implement counseling in our schools, guide and help and give advice to them. Counseling is a process in which two people meet to explore personal problems and to identify solutions. Counseling is attempts to correct performance through face-to-face communication and problem solving. Job well done! We've passed the first activity. So now, let's move on to groups and organizations. Let me explain this. Groups and organizations is the group clientele of counseling. Consists of people who either share similar concerns or benefit from giving support to one another. A program is prepared for these groups to assist them in the difficulties that they encounter. So, let me explain again. Groups exist in communities and organizations, students in schools, teachers in school, and departments in workplaces, and such as entity can undergo group counseling to meet counseling needs on that level. The needs can range from desire to reduce conflict or manage it, become more productive as a team, or work better together. Together means you should have a unity. Rather, some of the group processes and procedures resemble those that are applied in individuals. You heard it right. However, some are very unique, means peculiar. Unique to group and organizational context. Some of the groups and organizations a counselors reaches out to will be explained from the following members of our group. Listen carefully.
So the first topic of these groups and organization are those students who has academic difficulties. So let's find it out. The counselor identifies students who experience difficulties in their academics. He or she calls for them to identify their common concerns, which may have possibly affected their academic performances. The activities that the counselor carry out are aimed to develop effective study habits and time management, provide tips in developing the ability to concentrate, teach stress management techniques, and offer career clarification. The most common type of academic difficulties that the students are facing is family problem. Changes in family dynamics, let's say divorcing parents, can cause children to feel guilty, neglected, or unloved. Financial strife and sibling bullying can also put stress on child's emotions and can cause them to lose focus or act out at school. Secondly, we have honor students. The counselor meets the best performing students to inspire them to continue their hard work and perseverance. The counselor also encourages them to ascertain difficulties they encounter which could affect their academic performance. Whether the student is doing a great job at school, it is still necessary to cheer them up for them to feel more motivated. Several studies suggest that happiness can influence academic success. Furthermore, they reveal that emotions significantly influence the students' learning strategies, cognitive resources, and academic achievement. So counseling is for everyone, not just for those who is in need. Thirdly, we have students with career uncertainties. Students with career uncertainties may not be able to perform well in their academics due to lack of interest caused by such uncertainty, as well as lack of clear direction for the future. Hence, counseling these students involves an assessment of their interests, personality traits, and competencies. The result of the assessment will serve as basis for discussing related career options that these students may consider.
Children of OFW parents and single parents. According to a 2018 survey on overseas Filipinos, from April to September 2018, some 2.3 Filipinos left the country to seek employment abroad. Children of absentee parents are more prone to higher rates of stress, depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem during the teenage years. Research consistently shows that the absence of parents has lasting negative emotional effects on children. A counseling program and forming a support group are appropriate for this group. Children of OFW parents. So, these are the children who do not receive the attention they desire from their parents and who require counseling in order to cope with the predicament they find themselves in. This is a big problem these days, especially in the Philippines, because a lot of people dream of going outside of the country to make money, but the disadvantage is that you'll be leaving your family, or child for a while. Another big problem for children these days is single parenting for whatever reason. And it's becoming a big problem for society because of the mistake or a problem that their parents' relationship has, whether it be a natural or a purposeful cause. It forces people to leave each other. These factors have an impact on child's life, which should be addressed by a counselor for the child. As a result, they should seek counseling from a professional counselor or an experienced individual. International students. This group is composed of individuals from different countries. During their stay in the Philippines, they may experience difficulty in assimilating with and adjusting to the culture. The counselor meets these students to assist them in their adjustment process. The counseling program implemented are focused on effective coping, problem-solving skills for situations relatively new to them, and appropriate response to feelings of homesickness. So, international student. This group is made up of students who have been given the opportunity or privilege to study in a different country. The adjustment can be difficult, especially in terms of culture in each country. As a result, it can cause you a lot of problems, such as fitting in society. As a result, you will need a counselor to guide you through every step you will take in the country where you have stayed. Students living in dormitories or away from home. These refer to students who live in the province and transferred to dormitories, apartments, or boarding houses nearest to their school. These students often experience feelings of homesickness which can affect their academic performance. In such cases, effective counseling programs are those focused on clarifying goals, managing their emotions, and socializing as a form of fostering a sense of family among peers. So, students living in dormitories or away from home. You're far from home and family, but unlike international students, you'll be able to visit them because you're still in the same country. However, this context about you as a student living in a dormitory far away from your family is difficult and can lead to homesickness, which can cause problems such as difficulty focusing on your studies. That's why it's always good idea to talk to your guidance counselor.
This time, I will tackle about the 3 left subtopic of groups and organizations, and here are some. Individuals with social-emotional concerns means this group is composed of individuals who feel alone and depressed because they experience being bullied, rejected, or left out. They may appear quiet and behave. However, because of what they have experienced, there is a possibility of kept anger, frustration, and pain. So these aspects may include heightened awareness, anxiety, perfectionism, stress, issues with peer relationship, and concerns with identity and fit. If these emotions are not addressed by the counselor and appropriately processed with the counseling, the student may suffer from an uncontrolled emotional outburst or an emotional breakdown. So, these students will benefit from trainings on enhancing or developing interpersonal skills or social skills, managing emotions and resilience for them to recover. Parents, adults, and caregivers in their lives needs to stay in tune with their specific child's needs and help shape a strong framework for social emotional health for them to overcome to their kind of concerns or situation. Next, victims of disasters. This group includes individuals who have experienced calamities or disasters like the fire incidents that may have caused them to manifest symptoms of post-traumatic and stress disorder. So victims of disasters, in a disaster, they face the danger of death or physical injury. They may also lose their home, possessions, and community. Such stressors place you at risk for emotional and physical health problems. A critical incident, stress debriefing, or psychological first aid can be conducted in order to give an initial form or treatment to direct victims of disaster. So, the psychology is has a responsibility to help this or guide the fire victims. Fire victims or any kind of incident for the victims for them to recover. That's right. Stress reactions after disaster look very much like the common reactions seen after any type of trauma. Common reactions in adults after disaster: sadness, depression, hyperactivity, irritability, or anger. That will be the effect for those who experience disasters, right? Having no feelings at all or feeling numb, a lack of energy or feeling exhausted all the time, lack of appetite, or the opposite, eating all the time. People usually recover well from the emotional effects of a natural disaster with the support or with the guide of family and friends. So example, the family and friends should help them and guide them for them to recover for that kind of incident. And last but not the least subtopics of groups and organizations is the peer facilitators. This group is composed of individuals who went through a series of trainings in peer facilitating. Their role is important in the promotion of guidance, service, and programs in this school. A peer facilitator helps others work through their problems by offering emotional support as well as guidance regarding different situations. Peer learning involves a new role for the students who facilitate the learning of other students. The role of the peer facilitator, which is focused on learning through supporting the learning. That's right. Then the para-counseling is a counseling given by non-professionals like our parents, friends, like that the same age with us. That's what we call the para-counseling.
Communities. Guidance counselors also work in partnership with other members of the school community, such as parents and school authorities. So let's proceed to the first one. Parents. In order to address students' needs, collaborative efforts between parents and counselors are being done through conference or meetings. Counselors meet with the parents of students who often demonstrate behavioral problems. This meeting is aimed at discussing possible ways for the parents to provide positive support to their child. Moreover, counselors can also carry out orientation sessions and seminars about proper and effective parenting. These seminars may discuss how to deal with adolescents given the social context of this century. This way, the parents can better understand their children's behavior. Hence, parents may render appropriate support for their children's holistic development. Parents. Parents may undoubtedly support their children's learner to achieve their intended outcomes. Parents are fantastic voice for their children because they can explain to the counselor what their child is going through right now, allowing the counselor to figure out what to do with the child who is going through something or has an agenda to express in order to make changes. School authorities. School authorities and administrators, like teachers, department heads, and principals, are also counted as cliente of guidance counselor. A counselor can meet with the teachers to help them understand the psychological aspect affecting the students' learning process. As such, counselors encourage teachers to refer students who seem to have difficulties in the classroom. Counseling and preventive guidance activities are given to provide immediate assistance to the students with identified learning problems. Furthermore, counselors may carry out seminars and workshops on effective classroom management, career anchors, and handling bullying or depression to help teachers and administrators understand their students' needs and concerns. school authorities. They're the ones who can put some rules and regulations in place for the students to follow. But the school authorities can also be a good partner to a counselor, allowing the counselor to understand what the students need in particular situation, such as this year. Students who are facing a major problem, particularly in the learning system. The school should take some opinion to the students on what their take on the learning system they were facing now. Maybe asking them question like, does the learning system you have now is effective? By that simple question, you will be able to know if what is their take on this matter so that you can let a counselor know what is the situation so that he or she will be able to give you some advice on what to do in this matter.
Activity 2 number 6 and 7. Identify the top 3 needs as per results of the survey and give possible solutions. I will choose one of the top 3 needs and I will give 3 possible solutions. I choose I do not know how to manage my time. We know sometimes there doesn't seem to be enough time in the day and that things fall to the wayside as a result. While this happens to the best of us every once in a while, students who struggle with the management on an ongoing basis don't do themselves many favors. If the person do not know how to manage time properly, it can cause a very bad effect on person work or studies. Not many people can manage their time very well. It may be because they have poor planning skills or they fail to set priorities. Or maybe they just have low productivity. There are many causes why some people cannot manage their time properly. Poor time management can lead to poor quality of work and can lead to relationship problems. The 3 possible solutions on how to manage time properly. First is set goals correctly. Set goals that are achievable and measurable. Second, plan ahead. Make sure you start every day with a clear idea of what you need to do. What needs to get done that day. Consider making it a habit too. At the end of each workday, go ahead and write out your to-do list for the next workday. And the last one, remove non-essential tasks and activities. It is important to remove excess activities or tasks. Determine what is significant and what deserve your time. Removing non-essential tasks or activities frees up more of your time to be spent on genuinely important things.
I lack proper study habits. For students who lack proper learning, these are steps or solutions they should take. First of all, we should study hard and concentrate of learning as much possible. When I said, let's not lose hope, everything we can achieve, like a person who lacks education.
I did not know how to deal with my professor. Most professors regularly interrupt their presentations to give students a chance to ask questions, and when they do, they're hoping for some kind of response, not the pathetic silence that often reigns. Your question will light up your professor's day.
What have I learned so far? Number 1. Counseling in the industrial setting is provided to address difficulties of employees, students, and pupils. Industrial counseling can be explained as providing help and support to the employees to face and sail through the difficult times in life. Counseling of staff is becoming an essential function of the managers. The organization can either take the help of experienced employees or expert professional in safe counseling activities. Increasing completeness in the lives of the employees need to address various aspects. It helps employees to tackle with the problem effectively. Employees are able to sort their problems, helps in decision making a new way to look at the perspective, may reduce the number of absenteeism of employee. It may prevent termination from employer or resignation from employee. It reduces the cost of hiring new employee and training new staff. Possibility of smooth coordination between employer and employee. Number 2. Most of the concerns in the elementary level is related to career, behavioral, emotional concerns. Get evaluated parents should ask a medical doctor, licensed counselor, or psychiatrist to evaluate their child and ascertain whether they have a behavioral disorder. Figure out what your child needs whenever you communicate with medical professionals or school staffs. Keep detailed record of those interactions. Note the date and time when you make requests or ask the school for updates. Write emails whenever your voice concerns and circulate memos outlining all the points discussed anyone with direct involvement in your child's education. Parents carry the burden of proof when it comes to demonstrating whether or not a school provides adequate support to a student with behavioral disorders. Number 3. Individuals with social-emotional concerns feel alone, independent, relaxed because of their negative experiences such as bullying, rejection, or being left out. It is natural for us to feel alone or lonely when we are isolated from others. As a tribal species, our brain adapted to rely on social connections as a means to survive. In fact, according to neuroscientists who has made a career out of studying loneliness and absence of social connection triggers some primal alarm bells as hunger, thirst, and physical pain. Put simply, humans don't do well if they are alone. When we find ourselves become isolated, we should take that as a warning sign that we may turning against ourselves in some basis way. And path of isolation leads to loneliness. Number 4. Most people seek counseling because they are overwhelmed by their emotions such as pain, sadness, conclusion. Depression is classified as a mood disorder. It may describe as feelings of sadness, loss, or anger that interfere with the person's everyday activities. True depression and grief share some features. Depression is different from grief felt after losing a loved one or sadness felt after traumatic life event. Depression usually involves self-loathing or loss in self-esteem, while grief typically self-not reflects after traumatic life event. Depression usually involves self-loathing or a loss of self-esteem, while grief typically does not. In grief, positive emotions and happy memories of the deceased typically accompany feelings of emotional pain. In major depressive disorder, the feelings of sadness are constant. People experience depressions in difficult ways. It may interfere with your daily works, resulting in lost time and lower productivity. It can always influence relationship and some chronic health conditions. It's important to realize that feeling down at times is a normal part of my life. Sad and upsetting events happen to everyone, but you're feeling down are hopeless on a regular basis. Number 5. Going through the process of counseling allows the client to add new perspective recognition difficulties. We need to connect with our clients for us to know about what are their feelings or emotions, their necessities and concerns. We must all know how to listen about their thoughts and perceptions. Counseling is aimed to empowering a client. The general goal is to lead an individual client or group to self-emancipation relation to a felt problem. At some stage in the process, the client should attain insight and understanding of oneself, achieve better self-awareness, and look at oneself with increased self-acceptance and appreciation, and be able to manage oneself positively. Client empowerment means that they develop skills and abilities that figure self-management and improve motivation towards actions that are good for oneself, and develop a positive outlook toward the past, leading to some sense of closure and attainment of relatives' inner and outer harmony, resulting to improvement in, of course, family, friends, and others. Since the objective of counseling is to provide support in dealing with issues of counseling, effective when it is performed with clear objectives, I include pricing small degree of advice, assurance, release of emotional tension, clarified thin leg, and reorientation. Counselors must try to keep this principle in mind at all times in order to be effective.
Identification. Number 1. Activities that promote effective study habits, time management, and career clarification are concerned out by the counselor to help students with in its academic difficulties. Because it talks about on how he or she to identify their common concern, which may have possibly affected their academic performance. Number 2. This group of students is composed of individuals coming from different countries, and it's international students because during their stay in the Philippines, they may experience difficulty in adjusting to the culture. And so, the counselor meets these students to assist them in their adjustment process. Number 3. Academic performance of students who stay in the dormitory may be affected because sometimes they experience feeling of homesickness. These are the students who live in the province, and the feeling of emotional distress because they are away from home. Number 4. This group of students is trained to help guidance counselor in reaching out more students. It's peer facilitators. Peer facilitators help the guidance counselor reach out of the students, and they allow the trainings to do para-counseling so that students will be more comfortable talking with person of their own age. Number 5. This meeting is organized by the counselor to identify and discuss possible ways parents can provide to positively support their children and its parents so that parents can be better understand their children's behavior. Hence, parents may render appropriate support for their children's holistic development.